This is KGW News at 11.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm Galen Etlin. We begin with a tricky problem with a big impact. U.S. Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon and local technology leaders say we need legislation to boost the semiconductor industry. Production is down, creating shortages in products we use every day. And they're pushing for the Chips for America Act to get through it. Art Edwards joins us now with what that could do. Hey, Art.
Well, that Chips for America Act would help the semiconductor industry make more chips and make them faster, something chip makers say is essential.
When it comes to semiconductors in Oregon and America, it needs to be full steam ahead.
Senator Ron Wyden is one of the driving forces working for passage of the Chips for America Act. It's a $52 billion package of incentives and subsidies to help semiconductor manufacturing in the United States. There's also something called the FABS Act. That would establish a tax credit to help strengthen design and manufacturing of semiconductors. Wyden appeared at Stark Vacuums in Northeast Portland, along with leaders of local chip manufacturers.
This is a national security issue as well as an economic security issue.
There's been a shortage of chips since the pandemic forced the closure of factories. They're found in everything from vacuum cleaners to cars and appliances. While other parts of the world have worked to open up new factories to produce chips, that has not happened in the United States. The CHIPS Act would be an important boost to chip makers like Intel.
The longer Congress delays the passing of the FABS Act and funding of the CHIPS Act, the higher the risk that the chip manufacturers will decide to invest and expand outside of the U.S.
Chip makers say they're trying to meet the demand, but they need help.
The reality is that we can't expand fast enough to meet the unprecedented demand that we see from our customers.
The legislation has strong bipartisan support in Congress and is a top priority for the Biden administration. Senator Wyden says his goal is to get Congress to vote on the legislation before the Senate recess in August. Galen?
All right, we'll see what happens. Art, thank you so much. We are now hearing from the everyday people feeling the impact of Portland's gun violence. Neighbors are reliving a deadly shooting on their block. Now, if you live in this part of Southeast Portland here, highlighted in red on this map, you might have seen police near your home. The search overnight appeared to focus on a building on Southeast 122nd Avenue. Now, this all started with a report of a shooting just after 7 on Friday night at Southeast Powell and 112th. Officers found one man dead and another who was hurt, who is expected to survive. Police say several suspects ran away, though, and they set up a search perimeter until around 12:45 this morning. And they caught everyone they think was involved and detained them. Neighbors are shaken by the shooting, but not surprised.
This is just Southeast Portland. This is an every day. There's fights over here in the Safeway parking lot constantly. We have a joke, you don't need cable TV in Southeast Portland.
Now, as of earlier today, police have not charged anyone with a crime, so people with information are asked to contact Portland Police. Well, for the second time in 2 weeks, Portland police are charging someone with a bias crime. This one was yesterday afternoon. An officer saw two drivers pull up in front of the downtown precinct. One driver was yelling at the other, and the officer tried to separate the two people. Police say 54-year-old Neil Walker pulled up to the other person and made biased statements about the victim being of Asian descent. Walker is then accused of pulling out a black object that made the victim think it was a gun. It did turn out, though, to be a black plastic air hose. Walker now faces multiple charges, including second-degree menacing. Well, Portland police are also investigating a stabbing at a park in Southeast yesterday. Officers responded to Sewellcrest Park in the Richmond neighborhood off 31st and Market. They found the victim and sent them to the hospital in an ambulance. Witnesses gave officers a description of the suspect, and police found him nearby off Hawthorne and 32nd Avenue. They booked Eric Bell into jail, and he now faces second-degree assault charges. But anyone with extra information about this case is asked to contact Portland police as well. An Oregon fisherman is recovering tonight after falling nearly 40 feet. This was in Otter Rock, south of Depot Bay this afternoon. Depot Bay Fire, North Lincoln Fire and Rescue, Newport Fire, the Coast Guard, and other agencies, they all responded. The fisherman broke a leg in that fall and needed help getting out of the area. Crews successfully hoisted him up the rugged terrain before climbing out themselves. The fisherman was taken to a hospital in Salem for surgery. And talk about a tricky rescue in Portland. There were some tense moments downtown as crews worked to help two kids stuck in an elevator at the Big Pink building. The elevator, turns out, was only stuck above the first floor, but the only access point to that elevator was on the 18th floor. That required a rope rescue, and firefighters had to rappel down to get to those kids. Everyone did make it out okay, and no one was hurt. Wow. Well,